Hi, faithful caregiver. Have you ever wished there were more TV shows that your dementia loved one would actually be interested in and watch? Recently, when I was on a platform, a guy jumped on there and said, "This is what I do in order to snap my dementia loved one out of a bad mood." He said, "I get on YouTube and I find funny animal videos." Then someone else said, "Well, I show mine the Lawrence Welk Show." That got me to thinking about all the television shows that I watched decades ago, but because your dementia loved one is living in reverse care and their brain would be back decades ago, they might be really relevant to them and hold their interest. Plus, the ones that were made decades ago were slower paced, and they were only like 30 minutes long usually. The shows weren't hour-long ones like they tend to be now. So I'm going to share those over 50 different videos that I've come up with that your dementia loved one may really sit and just enjoy watching. And I alphabetize them so that if you can't keep up with writing them down, it's easier for you to find them if you have to go back in the video. Also, one more thing. At the end of the video, I have got 6 cartoons that we all watched also, and that's your little bonus section. All right, here we go. Under A, The Andy Griffith Show. We all loved Barney and Aunt Bee and Opie. That was just a great show. And then The Adventures of Rin Tin Tin. That's a really old one, and it has a German Shepherd dog in it. So if your dementia loved one enjoys animals, they would really like that one. Then The Addams Family and The Adventures of Superman, and George Reeves played in that one. And then under the B's, we have Bonanza, and that was set out west. I loved Bonanza. That was such a good show. And then Batman. Now, Batman was first out in 1939 in a comic book, and I did not realize that until I was doing some research for this particular video. And I'm thinking, wow, I just had no idea that he came into existence that many decades ago. But yeah, 1939. All right, then we had the Bob Newhart Show, which was a really funny show, and the Brady Bunch, and then the Bill Cosby Show. And you know what's fun about some of these family ones? You can still see some of these child actors that grew up together in a family. They still get together sometimes, and they have reunions, and that's always fun just to see that. Then we had the Beverly Hillbillies, and we loved Granny and poor Jethro. And you know, it's so funny. They had a pond in the backyard, which was actually a swimming pool. So if you've never seen the Beverly Hillbillies, I bet your dementia loved one has, and they will enjoy watching that again. Then we had The Big Valley, and that was played by Barbara Steinwick, and she was the matriarch of a family, and they had a ranch out west, and that was a beautiful show for just a lot of reasons. All right, then we have Chips Under Sea, and then Columbo, and the Carol Burnett Show. Nobody laughs like Carol Burnett. That was like a variety show, so that would be a really good one for them. Then under D, we have the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then the Doris Day Show. And then under F, we have Father Knows Best. And then under G, there's Gunsmoke, which is a set out west also. And then Gilligan's Island. Gilligan was in trouble all the time. It was a funny show. All right, then under H, we have Here's Lucy, Hawaii Five-0. Now, if you're like me, I bet as you're hearing some of these names called off, your head is probably having the theme song to that show run through it, because that's what's going through my brain at the moment. The Hawaii Five-0 show was so good. All right, then we had Hee Haw, and that was a variety show. And then Happy Days, and we all loved Fonz. In fact, I still like seeing him on movies. He's such a good actor. So good. And let me just stop right here and say this. Please, would you like and subscribe this video if you're getting value out of it, so that the YouTube algorithm throws it out to more people? I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's get to the I's. Under I is Ironside, and I Love Lucy, and everybody loved Lucy. And then I Dream of Jeannie. And then K. K was for the Kojak Show. I loved the Kojak Show. He always walked around with a sucker or a lollipop hanging out of his mouth. That was a good show. And then Kung Fu. And then under L, we have Laverne and Shirley. And then we have Little House on the Prairie. Everybody loved Little House on the Prairie. And it is hard to believe that this year they were celebrating their 50th anniversary of when they came on TV. And that just blows my mind. So I've been watching a lot of the reunions that they're having together, and that is such fun to do that. All right, then we have Lassie, which is another show about a dog. And then Lost in Space. And then The Love Boat. And The Lone Ranger. And then under M, we start off with Marcus Welby, and he was like the best looking doctor on television. He was a good actor too. He was so good. All right, then Mayberry RFD, My Three Sons, and then Mork and Mindy. I don't hear a lot of people mention Mork and Mindy, and I thought that was a hilarious show. Robin Williams actually was on that show, and so, of course, it was decades ago, but that's a good one to look up and see if your dementia loved one enjoys it. And then MASH, and that, for the time of history that our country was in, that was such a well-written show. We loved to watch MASH. All right, and then the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Mission Impossible, and then under the P's was Perry Mason, and he was a criminal defense lawyer and played by Raymond Burr. I think I watched him every day after school. I love anything that was mystery like that. That was just an excellent show. And yes, I am reading these off because there was no way I had time to memorize all of these different names. All right, and then under R, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. That was a man and wife show, and they had beautiful horses. His was named Trigger, and hers was named Buttermilk, and they had a dog named Bullet. So that was a really good show. And then another one set out west was Rawhide. And then there was the Red Skelton Hour, and he was a comedian. The Rifleman. I, just a couple of years ago, actually at lunchtime, because they're shorter, like 20 or 30 minutes, I sat and watched all that there were, that whole series. I don't know how many months it took me to watch through it, but I watched through The Rifleman. And then there are the Rockford Files. All right, I'm going to catch my breath. There's so many of them, and I'm trying to get through them as quickly as possible. All right, under S, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Star Trek. Yes, I absolutely love Star Trek. I loved Beam Me Up Scotty, and I love Spock and the Captain. Such a good show. And you know what? That was like the Genesis series that started Star Wars. And I love Star Wars too. You know, it just started with Star Trek, and it's just continued. All right, then we have Sanford and Son, and that was a hilarious show. And then Starsky and Hutch and the $6 Million Man. Okay, and under the T is That Girl. Then under V is Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I didn't watch that a lot. I'm not sure why. It's probably because it was on an opposite channel during one of the other ones, but a lot of people loved Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. All right, now we're at the W's, and that is for the Waltons. It just couldn't be anybody else because we loved this family show that was set during the Depression era, and it was just so well written, and we just grew to feel like they were family coming into our home. And if you liked watching that show, here's like a sidebar note. There is the little girl that played Elizabeth on it, Cami Kotler, or Kotler. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Her name's Kamicotler. She has a Facebook page. So if you're interested in things that's going on within that family, because they do get together and they have reunions and all sorts of things going on, she really keeps a very good blog going on her Facebook page. And you can, join that. Just make sure that it's actually hers, because, there's a lot of scam pages out there, and hers has got the blue circle with a check in it. So I thought you might want to know that if you love the Waltons like we did. Okay, here are your reverse care cartoons, because your dementia loved one may still enjoy watching these cartoons that were made decades ago. But before I tell you those even, I've got 2 activity videos that I've done if you want to have intentional activities with your dementia loved one. And I'm going to drop the links to them in the show notes so that you can go straight to them if you're interested in doing something intentionally with them. Okay, here are the cartoons. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Spider-Man, and the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour, and the Yogi Bear Show. There, we have covered a lot of territory. I'm sure that somewhere in that list of all those different TV shows that I gave you, you can find some things that are new and fresh for your dementia loved one to watch that they can relate to. Thank you for taking care of your dementia loved one. God bless you. Stay true. Bye.